Good morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to talk about the energies this week post Lionsgate, although obviously we are still in that energy. It's been an intense week for me personally. I'm just wondering how everyone else has been collectively. There's been some familiar wounds rising to the surface and some I wasn't even aware of. We can hold stories in our aura without having a consciousness about them, whether they're ours or other people's. And it really pays to take stock of how we're feeling on a regular basis and to be aware of all of the energy within and around us. So this morning in particular, I have had a nightmare trying to get sound on this recording, and it took listening to my own voice to realise that I'd been on mute this whole time, and the realisation that many of my podcasts may have also been on mute, although I now hear it was completely different. There wasn't a camera involved. Sometimes when there's lots of ways of information coming in, wires can be crossed. What we see and what we hear might not always match up. So for example, yesterday I was going to do a video for the Lionsgate, and I was going to do it early. And I really felt into it, and actually what I sensed was a repetition, an unnecessary repetition. I'd already done a video for the week and I'd already covered yesterday's energy. It felt really important, moreover, to experience it rather than talk about it. And when I did experience yesterday's energy, as I mentioned, a lot of old wounds were coming up to be surfaced and dealt with. One of them in particular was what was worth fighting for, what was worth putting myself through pain in order to grow. And that's going to be different for everyone. For myself, it was family. It may be your job, it may be your beliefs or whatever, but it really feels like a time of clinical terms here, but risk assessment. Okay, what are we gaining out of what it is we are fighting for? Is it worth going through the pain? And only we can answer that question. The other thing I noticed yesterday was my vision was just having a field day, which it does a lot anyway. But in particular with the Lionsgate, I would look at things and they would be something completely different to what I assumed they were. So for an example of this, I was walking my dog in the woods and I saw a deer. I know I saw a deer, but when I took a second glance, the deer was actually a tree. And when I came back indoors, I saw a brief glimpse of a baby lying on my sofa, but actually it wasn't a baby, it was my scarf. Now, I'm not losing the plot. This happens a lot, but in particular with shamanic senses, where we see beyond what we know to be true. And that does really enhance itself with portals. In particular, the Lionsgate portal is very much linked to the third eye. So what I was actually seeing was grounded in the tree, but into the divine feminine, which is the deer. What I was actually seeing with the baby and the scarf was to nurture my own voice now, my own throat. In Peruvian shamanism, the throat is the area of Huascar, our shadow, to really nurture that now, to hold space for it. And in this morning's meditation, I really felt into the pain of this last week. And rather than try and fix it or find a reason for it, I loved it. Not as in I enjoyed it, I loved it. I brought it back into my body. When we walk around the medicine wheel, one of the first steps we do is to see things outside of ourselves, separate from ourselves, so that we can gain clarity from that reflection and any healing that may need to occur for ourselves. We then take it round to the west, the place of death, not by getting rid of it, but by reabsorbing it, knowing it is part of us. We are all part of all things. And that's what I did this morning. In my own vibration, I brought everything that had caused pain back home to the person that was feeling it. And that feels really poignant post Lionsgate, to know what it is we are fighting for, from what place we are fighting, and to bring that union back to ourselves. So I don't know much about astrology, but I do know that there is a lot of fixed signs at present. The light in front of me is blurring my eyes. A lot of fixed signs at present. And, you know, when we can get caught in that fixed energy of who's right, who's wrong, I'm hurting, this hurt me, this big wall just builds and builds and builds between us. And it can be very difficult to look over that. But it's very, very important that we do so. Very, very important that we use the things that we have gained on our journey to move forward, not the repetition of the steps, but the skills that we have discovered. So, one of the analogies I was giving to my husband yesterday, when a woman delivers her first child, there's an innocence around it. You know, it's can either be worse than we imagined or not as bad as we imagined. When a woman comes in for her second or third or subsequent children, there is this look of knowing on their face, that remembrance of what is going to occur, even though every labour is different. There is that remembrance of the pain almost. The strength comes from recalling that you survived it, that actually you gained from it, that actually you discovered parts of yourself you hadn't realised existed from it. And that feels really, really poignant this week in particular. To remember the pain by all means, but to go deeper and rediscover the skills behind it all, because it's that helps us grow. So this morning in my meditation, I could feel a new energy coming in if we so choose. And again, emphasis on that, if we so choose. The Lionsgate portal actually opens on the 26th of July, the Mayan calendar, the new year, and peaks around the 8th, the Egyptian calendar of the new year. So that's 2 lots of new years. And I noticed, looking through my calendar, we also have Friday the 13th, which, depending on what you believe, can be a very auspicious time linked to the goddess. So a real newness around creativity there. I've just connected, so it's trying to come in really, really, really quickly. The other thing that I'm aware of today is my husband's birthday. Happy birthday, darling. My husband's birthday. And he enters into the numerology of 12. A 4 and 8, which is the Emperor and strength, taking what we have discovered, the foundations, the structures that we have discovered, and having strength to move forward now, to connect to our own divinity. Added together, it becomes 12, which is the Hanged Man, seeing things from different perspectives, you know, and sacrificing what once was with an open heart, knowing that it's part of growth. But also the Empress, in relation to creation and our place here on the very belly of Pachamama. Fortunately or unfortunately for my husband, next year we do enter into the Lovers and the Devil vibration. So really, really, really for him, looking at where he may be holding himself back from the abundance of love in the reflection of others around him and himself, and also his place here on earth. And you can work that out yourself by figuring out your age. And as I mentioned, the universe will be in the Lover's Devil energy from next year onwards. We're currently in the Hierophant, which is the teacher. So now is a real time to discover the lessons that we have gained through all of this. Not by going back and repeating the same things, but finding the seed beneath it. You know, this week in particular, I could really, really, really feel old traumas rising. There were knee-jerk reactions there for me. And it is about holding space for these and really feeling into it. What is going on? What can I discover by putting myself through this again? You know, and for me, it was things have moved on. Things have changed. I'm not that person anymore. And I'm willing to go that extra mile for the things that are important to me, which for me was my family. If we're going to go back, the microphone just fell down, drop the mic. If we're going to go back, then go back, drop the mic, find out what it is that you need to discover there and move on. Otherwise, we are continually causing trauma, causing unnecessary pain, not only to ourselves but to each other. And I can really feel that in my throat. That can be part of the shadow aspect, particularly collectively next year onwards. When we think about the hanged man, or when we think about the story of the lovers, you know, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and being kicked out of Eden because we've sinned, we start to really draw in that collective history of not being good enough, of having to sacrifice, being the martyr. Really, really, really looking at why we continue to go back to old stories, because eventually when we find the true gem there, we move forward. We just keep moving forward. So with that in mind, I'm going to have a drink of my tea and I'm going to look at the energies for this week. Although I see Christmas, I really see Christmas. So from now until Christmas, in a small reading. I'm looking at the book Dream Book. It's an American Indian medicine, obviously indigenous medicine. I don't want to be stereotypical, I'm just, you know, but the emphasis is, okay, it's not about being stereotypical, it's about finding that emphasis now. And in that book, in that story, it is the dream book, and the emphasis behind all of this is we are the dream weavers. We are writing the next story. We are writing the dreams for what is to come. And also maybe keep a journal over the next few weeks of your own dreams, because there are many insights in there. I personally have been dreaming a lot about animals. On the new moon in Leo, I dreamt about many, many rats turning into baby lions. And it was finding that strength from any disease now, finding that inner power from the things that we have discovered now, not taking forward the disease itself. Last night I dreamt of toads, and I haven't actually looked into that, but toads are able to be in water and on land, so to be grounded in their emotions. In particular this week, there's a difference between being grounded and stubborn. That's what I hear this week in particular. Our hearts have been really opened, you know, over this Lionsgate, and my advice is do all you can to keep them open. Do all you can to keep them open. Tend to your needs, obviously, but try to avoid pulling back. Do all you can to keep moving forward with this open space. I've started doing my own exercises the last few days, and it's been difficult. I know that the only person that can change my physical health is me, and because of my connective tissue concerns, a lot of the muscles have shortened, so stretching them has been very difficult. In particular, my shoulders and my heart space. The first day I did them a few lifts with my hands. that was it. The next day, a lot of pain from that, but knowing that it took stretching into that pain to shift the tightness. So really keeping our chest open this week, really stretching into that expansion now in order to just shift the last bits of debris of tightness that are there. Old patterns, old knee-jerk reactions. If we want things to be different, we must see them differently. And I hear how. One of the incredible ways I like to use vision is through the shamanic vision, and that is obviously the five senses, but also taking it to the next level and really encompassing those senses. So really tasting food. I guess being present would be the sixth sense. Really listening to what you are hearing, really feeling what you are feeling for all the sensations. So if you're walking along and there's a rose there, cliche as it sounds, take time to smell the roses, to converse with the roses, to become the roses, to gain their wisdom, their insight and their medicine, their messages. If you have permission to taste the roses. Obviously, I'm not advocating you go and eat any poisonous flower without knowing what you are consuming. That's really important, so don't do that. But just feeling the texture, smelling the roses, asking if there's a message. And we can do this with everything in life to really expand what it is we see now, rather than that initial, oh, that just means that. Learn open your eyes. We talk about waking up. Wake up. You know, there's great potential there with the third eye for illumination this week in particular, and it is about really opening up, seeing with all eyes now. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to do a reading for the week and energies. I think the cards I'm using are Renaissance Tarot. I think they don't have a box, unfortunately. I've had them for many years. I don't know where I got them from, which is beautiful. I don't know where I got it from. They don't have a box. I've had it for many years. Really digging deep to those skills where they're just innate to you. You were born with them. They don't fit into a box. You've just always been with them. They've always been part of you. My husband and I were driving yesterday and we were talking about the Olympics, and on the radio a presenter said, what would you get a gold in the Olympics? I feel quite coy about what I said, but I actually said it would be love. I would definitely get a gold in love, all different versions of love. I'm just wondering if that's my husband coming back home. Had to pause that then just to open the door, and my husband's just walked in with my dog food, and without advertising one particular brand, it has hero written on the front, so allowing that hero to come home, that part of the journey. But when we were talking about the Olympics, I did actually say it was different versions of love. I would definitely get a gold in love, having experienced so many versions. We can talk about dysfunctional love, we can talk about codependent love, we can talk about unrequited love. There is still love in growth, in potential. Okay, so it's seeing things for what they really are and asking yourself what it is you are prepared to fight for, what it is you are prepared to champion. That's what I hear. What would you get gold in the Olympics? You have the experience in one thing in particular, and it's really taking those tools, that skill, that innate knowledge forward this week. I thought for a moment then I'd disconnected because the door had opened, you know, the Lionsgate portal, but also my husband coming home. And actually at the top of the pack is the Queen of Wands, which is my astrological card. So it may feel as if we've disconnected to our skills this week because of outside disturbances or certain doorways opening or even closing. It isn't the case. Really, really, really delve into what training you've had this week in particular. I can hear let the games begin. Interesting. Excuse me. Okay. This week. I had to close my eyes then because it felt like I was going to go cross-eyed. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Overall. So this week we have 2 major arcanas, and the rest are very much mainly fire, mainly wands and mainly cups. Overall this week it's the King of Cups. Now the King of Cups came up on Sunday for the Lionsgate, and it was very much about flowing with our emotions, and that theme seems to be continuing this week in particular. I like this card. I don't know if you can see, I'll just wait for it to focus. The shells at the top. Now the reason I like the idea of the shells, I saw this morning frequency of music and how it makes the same pattern as a physical shell. And what was written underneath was something along the lines about music making form, and that is really looking back to the words that we say and the form that they're making this week, really looking at the creators that we are from our own voice. It's like the Lionsgate has almost given us an opportunity to speak up. Now it's time to listen to what it is we're actually saying and the form that that's creating in front of us. So today we have the Knight of Wands, and yeah, it really, really speaks of that energy still left over from the Lionsgate. And that does feel, for the first time ever actually, I really feel like that could be applicable all the way up to Christmas. Possibly spring, because we have daffodils there as well. It feels like anything that is put in place now definitely is for the next 6 months. So really, you know, it's the Knight of Wands. It is that energy that can be really charging in my way or the highway, really looking at what it is you create today in particular, because we are still in that Lionsgate energy. And it's almost like what I see is a 3-stage crossing. So the build up to the Lionsgate, the actual Lionsgate, and the part after. And we're in the part after, but it's still part of all of that energy. So yeah, we've been prepared, we've been stretched, and some of us torn apart this week. Now we're in that action energy, really being aware of what it is we take forward from this initiation. That's what it feels like this weekend has been an initiation into the new, should we so choose it. On the Tuesday we have the Ten of Wands, and obviously the Ten of Wands cannot sometimes be seen as overwhelm or burnout or whatever, but we must remember it is the 10, and it feels again like that tail end of the Lionsgate energy, those last flickering flames of what was. In this deck in particular, he's climbing it now. He's climbing that wall. You know, this is exactly what I saw this morning in meditation. It was very much wait with excitement. We have much to show you. I think the message was something like that. But I was looking over a wall. Climb the wall now. Take that one thing that you've discovered through this Lionsgate, that one thing that is worth the climb, that is worth the heights, the hard work, and move forward with that now. That one thing that drives you. It's almost like everything else has been steps to help us realize what is important to us and to create with that and from that. On the Wednesday, we have the first major arcana, and it's the Empress. I just want to take time to see that energy, which feels really poignant on the Wednesday. Taking time to connect to the mother, taking time to connect to the creator that you are, taking that time to feel into the abundance of the thing that you're fighting for. Sometimes when something becomes our mission and we drive for it and we strive for it and we train for it, we don't always enjoy it. And it can be hard work, it can be those 10 of Wands, and it can be a constant battle if we're not open to receive what it is we are trying to bring forth as well. Again, it's going back to, if you want a world of peace, allow yourself peace. If you want a world where we are connected to the earth, connected to the earth. Create what you are trying to create by becoming it now. The Empress delivers, but is also pregnant. Yeah, it's about really realizing you are the child of your own creation, but also the parent and responsible for nurturing for yourself as a pregnant mother, but also as a child, if that makes sense. Round and round and round. Really connecting. What is it I want to create from now for the next 6 months? Am I actually, thank you, embodying it? What am I embodying? On the Thursday, we have the Four of Wands, and it's that chance to bring everything together. So whereas on the Tuesday, we may believe it's one thing that we take forward, that one thing is actually giving us structure and allowing us to bring many things together on the Friday. And that comes on the Saturday with giving and receiving. the Six of Cups, nurturing ourselves, nurturing each other, you know, for ourselves and for the future generation. That is who we manifest for. On the Saturday, I almost feel as if there's something missing, like a missing link, like a waiting for something to come in. And the card is actually the Hermit. And what I hear is what's missing is us. Again, it's really looking at, are we the very thing we're trying to create? Are we in alignment with that? Go within on the Saturday. Go within and really search for what it is you're trying to create and become it. Take time on the Saturday, because on the Sunday we're almost gifted that chance again to re-nurture that flow. We start with the King of Cups overall and we finish with the Queen of Cups on the Sunday in particular. And yeah, it really feels a time of balance of action and nurture. Yin and yang this week in particular. Going within, sharing time with loved ones. Really keeping that balance now. Incredibly important. So I'm going to pick one more card here and we have the Star. That balance. Yeah, really keeping harmony with the vision. I'm chasing the light. I'm literally chasing the light, trying to get it out of the way so that I can see. There we are. Okay. Stripping yourself back this week. Standing in your raw, naked truth and finding the harmony within that now. So, 1, 2, 3, 3 wand cards, which is creation and birth. And they are the Knight of Wands, 10 of Wands and 4 of Wands. And as I say that, I feel like I'm just going to zone out. Really feel like I'm going to zone out. And it's a sensation of when we drive too hard, when we do too much, when we don't have structure or foundation. It's like that's when we become disconnected from ourselves, from each other. We don't want to hear the messages that our body's trying to tell us. We don't want to look at what's being reflected back to us. We zone out, and when we zone out, we can only see things from the level we are able to perceive. So if we zone out and we're disconnected, that's how we're going to see things. In between all of these is the Empress, and that real importance to go within by connecting to the earth this week. There's 3 cup cards as well, which again is creation and birth. And they are the 6 of Cups, the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups. And what I see when they're together is almost the King and Queen of Cups as the parents of the universal child that we are, you know, but also being the parent to ourselves and to the things that we are creating and to each other. Keeping that balance there, keeping that harmony there. Often with the 6 of Cups, in order to go forward, we move backwards. So it's going back to that original vision. I was going to say original message, but original vision in the Star card. You know, going back, is there anything else that we need to bring forward here? But as a parent would, in a supportive, nurturing, constructive way. Not going back to feel the pain unnecessarily or repeat the lessons, but just going back to see how far we've come towards the vision that we're trying to achieve. So there's a lot of balance there actually. 3 cups, 3 wands. 3 cups is the celebration and the birth, and 3 wands are the moving forward. The 3, and yes, now 3 major arcanas, the Empress, the Hermit, the Star, going within, connecting to the earth, connecting to your body, connecting to what it is you are creating and harvesting. Is it in alignment with your bigger vision for next year? You know, if it is, fantastic. Take a break, take a breather, go with the flow, let yourself off a bit. If it isn't, Well, I want to say the same thing. Take a break, take a breather, let yourself off for a bit. Because if it isn't in alignment, no amount of pushing from that space is going to change that in a graceful way. Pause, take stock, connect to the earth. What is it you are trying to actually achieve? What steps can you take? It may feel overwhelming, and that may be where we charge in and exhaust ourselves. What steps can you break it down into? Step by step. Otherwise the vision can be, the star card's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, but it can be overwhelming when we see where it is we're headed and where we actually are. And that is often when we look back to see where we've been and how far we've come. So in those moments of doubt, really look at how far you've come and use that strength now to move forward, not the lessons themselves, and break it down bit by bit. From now until next year, look forward, see where you want to be, come back to where you are. What small steps can you put in place now? The Empress is pregnant. It takes 10 months, for the human body to conceive and birth a child. Give yourself time. Give yourself time to plant those seeds, to harvest them. To avoid delivering prematurely, to avoid damage to yourself or what it is you're trying to create. Really grow. Allow it to bloom, to blossom. I think that's everything. The one thing I'm being drawn to again is the Knight of Wands for today in particular, and I see him almost as a champion. And I can hear the song, We Are the Champions. What is it you are championing? What is it you're trying to be the champion for? Really looking at that and bringing the hero's journey home now so that you can start again. Start again with a different angle, different perspective, different vision perhaps for some. Take care. Have a wonderful week.